On this episode, we talk a little bit about Instagram, why it sucks and why we don't like it that much anymore. I go over the expand feature on Snapseed and some examples on how to use it, and a video showing how editing was done on one of my photos. And we talk about our recent photos that we both took and seeing something peculiar about the photos that we took. All that coming up on the iPhoneography podcast.
It is Monday, August 1st, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. My name is Greg McMillan, and I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Dave Podner. How you doing, Dave?
Hanging in there, Greg. How's it going for you tonight?
Oh, not too bad. We just finished having a bit of rain, and we're about 7/8 of an inch shy of getting what we need for the week.
Wow.
Or probably even more than that. Actually, it only rained for probably 5 minutes, and that's the most it's rained in the last week. So It's pretty dry up here, and the grass is pretty brown, and so I don't know what it's like for you there, but I've cut my lawn once in about the last month.
Yeah, same here. It was the front lawn. The front lawn's actually crunchy.
Yeah,
you can actually walk
too.
on it, and it's brown and crunchy. But we've had a little bit of rain over the last week, so even though I cut it like a week ago, I think I'm gonna have to cut it again.
Yeah.
But
so, folks, if you're listening to this, you're not alone, because I'm sure everybody's experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, you're either being flooded or you're dry or you're bone dry.
Yeah. So we have a few things to talk about tonight. So as you know, the last show, I flew solo on it, and boy, that was rough. I'm just not used to doing that. I'm used to looking at your face on the screen, Dave, and having somebody to talk to. And when you're not here, it's awkward. I found myself, I don't know, just looking at my screen and kind of wondering, what am I doing? But so last week, in fact, a week ago today, we record this on Monday. And so a week ago today, I was to go to work, and on day shift. So I'm a shift worker, so it's either 12 hours days or nights. So I got up about 10 minutes before my alarm, and my breathing was really like I was short of breath, and I was breathing fast, and my heart rate was elevated, like over 100 beats per minute. And this is when I'm like laying down. So I didn't know what was going on. So I got up, and I was getting ready to go to work, whatever. I was going to, start breakfast or whatever. And I thought, I'm feeling a little queasy. So I thought I was going to vomit. I thought I was going to get sick. Yeah, it was really weird. And, it was kind of like when I've had the stomach flu a couple of times in my life. So I kind of know what that's like. I was getting all pale and pasty, and so I thought, well, this ain't good. And so I just phoned in sick. I phoned in and said I had stomach flu symptoms. So I thought, okay, well, I didn't get sick, and it subsided, but the shortness of the breath and the heart rate was still there, and I could tell my heart rate because of my Apple Watch. So I thought, well, I'm going to go back and lay down for a while, and I got up about an hour later, still feeling the same. The nauseous and all that stuff gone, but just the shortness of breath and the heart rate. So I did an ECG thing on my watch. And then when you're done doing that, you can put in the symptoms that you're feeling, like if you're not feeling well. So I put those symptoms in, and it told me to see somebody right away, get help. So my wife drove me to the hospital and booted me out on the way by. So in I went 5 hours later after 2 ECGs, they took blood twice, chest x-ray, all that stuff. Nothing. I couldn't, there was nothing. And the doctor, I asked him, so what caused it?
Yeah.
And he said, maybe you had just some kind of a viral bug or something, but he wanted to make sure with the second ECG, he did that just before they let me go. And he wanted to make sure my heart rate was going to be below 100 before he let me go.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was like 96 to 101, he said. So he said, keep an eye on it. If it gets back up there again, come back in or whatever. But then after that, it slowly went down. So I took the next day off work just because it wasn't quite there yet.
Right.
And, over that day, it come right back down to normal. And I was fine. I had my energy back. I was able to breathe fine. So I don't know if anybody's listening that has any experience with what that could have been. Let me know.
Honestly, it almost sounds like a panic attack.
It does, doesn't it? But I was
Yeah.
calm. I was not panicking about anything.
Well, I mean, it could, or some weird spike in adrenaline. Because when you have a panic attack, that's setting off the fight or flight, which causes the adrenaline to shoot up and give you the fast heart rate, the squeezing of you're squeezing your pain, the thing that feels like a heart attack, pretty much.
Yeah, but I woke up with it, right? Like it's so weird.
Right.
And I don't recall having any, dreams where I was falling off a cliff or, anything like that. So I don't know. It was strange.
I mean, the only other thing, of course, don't go to WebMD because they'll tell you that you're dying.
Oh, yeah.
Because WebMD always tells you that. But, if it came back to normal and follow up with your PCP or your family doctor, I would guess. I'm sure they told you that.
Well, they said that if, like I said to the attending doctor in the ER, I said, look, should I be going to work, this week?
Yeah.
And he said, well, if you don't think you can, then call your doctor and see what he says. But I mean, when I was starting to feel good, I just thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to keep my Apple Watch on at work and monitor it. And it was fine, man. I can't,
so weird.
I don't get it. So, and I'm sure they sent my doctor all the stuff that went on. So I'm sure if he had any, concerns or whatever, he'd have called me, but I haven't heard from him. So
that is so weird.
It is really weird. But, I'm so glad that I have this Apple Watch to check. When I did that ECG, I mean, it was sinus rhythm,
right?
There's no AFib, but it was fast. So what I've done was I've got a watch face on here with all kinds of heart stuff on it, and I've even got the heart rate variation thing on there.
Yeah,
and I read up on that to find out what that meant. So I know now what kind of a number to look for. So
right.
But anyway, I'm fine. I'm great.
Well, that's good to hear. That's a scare though.
Emergency
rooms are never fun. Emergency rooms are never fun.
No. So you know what? I'm starting to make a few changes in my my diet and things like that, and I'm gonna get a little more exercise and just start taking a little better care of myself.
Yeah.
Because to me, exercise is usually a 4-letter word. I'm not like you, Dave. I can't go out and run for an hour or 2 hours. But anyway, so that was my week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're just settling in here with 2 additional people now, with Ruth's mom and dad pretty much living with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just kind of taking turns, and Ruth's boss have been really good with her, and luckily she has a type of job where she can check her email, do her work, but she doesn't have to be on the computer 100% of the time.
Yeah, that's
so good. I can't do that, unfortunately, since I'm on a call center.
Yeah,
I have to be on a call, and I can't be close where there's a lot of noise because of being on a call center.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing we did do, and if anyone notices the little audio difference, we had to maneuver the house around. So the room I was in, the office, is now where my mother-in-law Pat's live, where she's basically living right now.
Oh, okay.
We made that into her room. We moved my computer stuff for work downstairs. We moved Ruth's computer stuff upstairs. So she can be pretty much across the way. And we moved my MacBook. And not MacBook, my iMac, which was in the room, into the kitchen. Yeah, it was in the office. Now it's in the kitchen.
Okay.
So if there's a little more echo, instead of being in a kind of a tiny room, I'm in. It's a split level from the 60s. So people know what split level houses from the 60s look like. You have the kitchen, dining kind of combined, and it kind of flows into the living area.
Yeah. But you know what? You sound really good. So there's no echo.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, it's all hardwood floors and ceramic tiles, so it isn't like there's baffling or
Yeah, yeah.
anything like that. So that's good, and it's good it's audio because I don't want anyone to see the messy kitchen. It's not overly messy, but the messy kitchen behind me.
But I mean, it's a good distance behind you too.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it looks like it's almost 20 feet or so, or maybe
15,
15
20,
feet.
yeah, 15 feet or so. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, to sound as good as you do for where you're sitting, I mean that's good.
yeah,
But I mean, it's good that you guys are able to take her in
yeah,
and look after her and
yeah.
make
I
sure
would
she's
say
all right. So
this sounds weird. One advantage of the pandemic is that people got used to working remotely.
yeah, yeah.
Where it was, oh, you need to work remotely. Well, we're going to look down on you. Your workplace is going to look down on you because, oh, are you being lazy working from home? Like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
before all this happened, to where my department pretty much works from home 100%. A few people go in 1 or 2 days a week, but
Hmm.
other than that, pretty much everyone works remotely. We've been doing it for 2.5 years.
Yeah, and
We've
if the
been
job's
keeping
getting
work.
done, if the job's getting done, what's the big deal?
That's
Think
that's
of the
that's
money you saved on gas.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of all of our thoughts. But if the big bosses want us back in, we're going to have to go back in eventually.
Yeah.
Which,
Well,
I don't
well, I
want to say
mean,
anything bad. I like my job.
oh yeah, yeah. So we've had a couple of um
Where you guys don't have that option, obviously.
no, no. I mean, I have to go in. I went in. I've been going in just like normal all through this
Hmm.
whole thing. But as far as you and I go for our lives, we've had life things come
Oh
up,
yeah,
and it was enough to keep you um, uh, too busy to do the last show. And
yeah.
so, I mean, folks, when life gets in the way, this is the kind of stuff that comes up.
Oh
And
yeah.
generally we don't talk too much about our personal lives, but I just kind of wanted
Studio.
to touch on the main purpose for my story was the fact that if you have an Apple Watch, that sucker could save your life.
Yeah.
And I've heard so many stories about that, on Twitter and from Apple and things like that.
Hmm.
And never did I think it would happen to me, but
Yeah.
sure enough, it did. But,
Yeah.
and Dave, I mean, you're going through stuff that that's pretty close to the chest for me too,
Yeah.
because, I went through that with a family member recently and things like that. So, you know, life happens
Yeah.
and we just get through it. So,
True enough.
yeah, so that's enough of that. Now we're going to
Yeah.
start whining and
On to the
complaining.
photography. Yeah. Now
Yeah,
we're going to start. Now we're going to start complaining about something else that we don't like.
yes. um, I have had, and I'm sure you, Dave, and maybe 95% of the people listening have been so disappointed with Instagram lately. Um, in the show notes here, I wrote down why Instagram sucks and why it's no good for photographers anymore. So, I mean, I think everybody has a really good idea of what I'm getting at here, and it's because of the changes they've made, and they're trying to make it like TikTok. They're trying to compete with TikTok, and it's really annoying for us photographers who just want to have a place to showcase our photos. I mean, it used to be the place to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, not so much. So, I've been really promoting glass lately. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but it's something that you know what, if years ago, if Instagram said that they're going to start charging an annual fee just so that there'd be no ads and no algorithms, I had paid it. I'd have paid it in a heartbeat, because of all the people that are on there. I've made so many friends on there, local and around the world, people that I've never met in person, but I've only associated with through commenting and stuff like that. And the community was great. But now, I mean, you almost have to put notifications up for people whose posts you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I want is my phone dinging every 10 seconds throughout the day saying so and so put a picture, so and so put a picture. But it's just so maddening that it's been ruined for photographers. Meanwhile, that's where it started. And of course, we all know who's behind that. It's Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And I am still going to post once in a while, but the frequency won't be nearly like it is on Glass. And to be honest with you, if you want to see my stuff on Glass, you don't have to be on Glass. They've got a website you can go and you can browse the pictures. If you know who you're looking for, you can right to their profile and see what they're putting on there. So it's not like you have to be on Glass to see what's going on. But for me, for posting and stuff like that, it's kind of really what I like and what I'm leaning towards. So, but Dave, you've got some beefs with Instagram too, I hear.
Yeah, well, this is something that I've had and a few other local people I follow on Instagram, local to Pittsburgh, who are professional photographers. Their job is photography and like a hobby like us. One person is, and I want to make sure I get her thing right here, City Life Adventures. Her name's Carla Cardello. And she's even said a few times, she's even posted stories and things on Instagram saying, I just want to make sure anyone sees this, because her likes went, again, this is someone much bigger than me, when, she could easily get thousands of likes for photos down into the low hundreds.
Wow.
And she's posted on stories, which stories a lot of times is the only way that you're knowing that someone posts, because the feed is so messed up and cluttered with ads and everything else, where at least in stories it's kind of going across. And it's I've seen a lot of people do, hey, in my story, hey, I have a new post, click here to see my post. So, which you shouldn't have to direct people to your post.
That's right.
And it's just ridiculous. And and I've even noticed, like, for my photos, ones that I thought were pretty good likes, where last year, again, I'm not getting into thousands of likes. I never got into thousands of likes, but I was getting on a really good photo at 30, low 30s, maybe averaging mid 20s. And now I'm getting like 10, 12 likes.
Yeah.
One that I thought was a pretty good photo, I got 6.
Wow, isn't that something?
And it's like, and the reach, and you can actually, if you go into the Instagram, they actually show my reach has gone down. So my reach is much smaller, and I'm not posting less. I'm using pretty much the same hashtags as I was doing before. So whatever changes they made to their algorithm, and they even came out, we talked about it. They said, we don't want to get involved with photos anymore. Why?
Yeah.
Because the money is in video. Like you said, people are like, and we're not the only ones. And it isn't only local sized celebrities. The Kardashians came out and said, we want our Instagram back.
Yeah.
We don't want Instagram to be in their TikTok. We want our Instagram back. And I'm like, and that's major money for those two.
Yeah. And
with the ads and everything else.
Instagram slammed on the brakes and changed back some of their freaking algorithms just because of them.
Well, that kind of makes sense, honestly. And this isn't necessarily right, but from a business standpoint, it makes sense. If you hear a bunch of people who have 200, 300, 400 followers complaining, that's one thing. If you have someone who has millions, tens of millions, who, if they say we're getting off of Instagram and we're moving to service A, they will have people follow them to service A. And brands that they're connected with will start moving because their spokespeople are moving over to service A. Now you need to have it in mass, but their thing that, because again, when we think about, like you said, about Instagram, it's Meta. Facebook is having major issues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A lot due to Apple. When
Mm-hmm.
Apple, for the last version of the operating system, Apple said, if you go to websites, remember, you can say, hey, do you want this app to track me? Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
ask to track me, or do you want not to track me? And a lot of people, when they got that, said, oh, I don't want to be tracked.
That's right.
So now all
I
of a
heard
sudden
I heard it cost Meta was it $10 billion?
Mhm.
I don't know
Because
if it was just the last quarter or what it
yeah,
was.
Meta makes all of its money off advertising. And
Yep.
if they can't track you, and honestly, they don't care about you. And it
Oh,
sounds
no.
bad. They don't care about one or two people. They care about they can take billions of people because they have billions
Mm-hmm.
of billions of users monthly. They can take those billion, they can track it down, and they can go to big companies and say, "Hey, do you want to advertise against people who follow this demographic?"
Yeah.
And that's where they get all their money. Ruth has her
Yeah.
jewelry thing. She does advertising on Facebook. And so, and she gets tips off of it because Facebook knows, oh, you're in jewelry that's in this. Okay, we know who to hit.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
advertise this product, we know the demographic to go after. That's fine. In fact, that's kind of what a lot of people have been asking for. Because the idea is, hey, I don't want to see an ad for, I don't want to see an ad for a university if you know that I'm 50 years old and I'm not looking for going back to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want the targeted advertising. That's a good thing for me. However, I want to know what you have. I want to agree to it. And that's a lot of things that Facebook just there's no trust.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the same thing with Instagram. So they're looking to get money any way possible. And video, TikTok's the hot thing. YouTube Shorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another one.
Because YouTube's now saying, hey, if you post a YouTube video, we'll make it easy for you to post a 60-second snippet that you can then promote that because people are willing to, it's like an ad. YouTube posting their shorts like an ad. Well, Instagram's seeing all this and Meta's like, well, we have no video platform. We have a social network. We have a messaging. We have a photo, but they don't really have a dedicated video. They tried with Instagram TV.
That's right. Yeah.
They tried that, and people were like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to go to Instagram. I don't want to have a separate app because people just didn't. So then they said, okay, well, in that case, if you don't want to use a separate app, we'll just make Instagram video.
Yeah. And it all started with the implementation of Reels.
Mm-hmm.
And just to kind of go back to the power of the Kardashians, this guy that I work with always poked fun at me when I first put out my ebook on the Apple bookstore. He's, I would say, oh yeah, I sold another one, and 2 months later, yeah, I sold another one. I mean, it's not a bestseller or nothing. It was more just to try something, right? Mm-hmm. But he always used to say, if you can get Kim Kardashian to tweet about your book on Twitter,
mm-hmm.
you'd be a millionaire the next day.
Yeah.
Because everybody would go and buy it just because she said she liked it or something like that. Yeah. And you know what? I used to think he was full of crap, but I'm beginning to think, after this last little episode with Instagram and what she, just because of one thing she said, it made them go in and change their algorithms and everything else. I mean, they obviously listened to her. So
I have to correct myself. I was guessing how many followers she had. I just looked it up on Instagram. She has 327 million followers.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
She has as many followers as there are people in the US.
Yeah, exactly.
She only follows 196 people.
Yeah.
But she has that many followers. And so when if she would say, blah, 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 if you get a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, that's still a massive, massive people.
And that's even if 20% of those followers are bots,
True. Yeah.
right? But still, that's
Exactly,
240 million.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, Instagram is there to make money off of ads.
Yeah.
And to make money off of ads, if people aren't sharing, and Facebook has, Instagram has gone away. People just, in terms of brands, that's where they can pick their big money, like let's say for Nike or, whatever brand you may want to think about.
Mm-hmm.
They're interested in running ads, and they found out that short videos work better for them. So you're going to go where the money is, which
Yeah.
unfortunately is not your photographers.
That's
And
right. I mean, photographers have to get into doing videos.
yeah,
right? To promote their work.
Even slides, even basic slides of it.
Yeah.
Even doing something as simple as a slide of videos. Not necessarily a full blown video, but like rolling. Literally, we're going back to slides.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know that for like, but if you're a professional photographer, you have to be where people are. And places like Flickr, the average person's not on Flickr. The average person's
it
not
has
on
a good
Glass.
user base, but it's not
as much as it
I
used
don't
to.
think it's mainstream anymore.
No, it isn't. No. And nothing that can be pay to get in can really be mainstream. Because we found out that people don't like to pay money.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
The app makers found that out years ago when apps were like Camera Plus originally 10 years ago. It was $2.99. Snapseed was $4.99.
Mm-hmm.
And then they found out that people are not willing to pay money. So they're willing to download and maybe pay a little subscription fee, but there were apps that were $10, $15 for the iPhone. And unless you're like a Filmic Pro, which is really used by true professionals.
Yes.
Where it's not an expense, it's something on a line item. You tell a customer you need to buy this. So you're not really paying for it. Your customer's paying for it.
Yeah.
But, for the average, that's why apps are, look at all the the quote unquote free apps.
Yeah. And I've bought a lot of apps over the years, and partially to try them out because I like them, I Pro Camera. I used to use that all the time, and then I think I went to Camera Plus. I ended up on Halide for probably 4 years. Now I'm on Reflex, but I still have a whole pile of different camera apps on my iPhone that I'll play around with. Some of them could have been free. I don't know, but when it comes to a photo sharing platform, I mean, Instagram has just ruined it.
Yeah.
And Flickr, their mobile app hasn't been significantly updated in a long, long time. The mobile community on Flickr just doesn't seem to be there. Everybody wants to be on Instagram for some reason, and I don't know why. But
it still is where the largest amount of people is.
It is.
Same thing with Facebook. Same thing with Facebook. There's
and that's the thing is I don't think anybody is ever going to touch their numbers, no matter how much they try. But for me personally, I'm just talking for myself here. I do really like the experience on Glass. There's no algorithms, no ads. There's no visible like counts that you could see on other people's work. You get what they call appreciations from other people. it's kind of like a like. They
Hmm.
like your photo. They could put they tap a little icon that stands for appreciation. So, but it's not in your face either. If you want to see how many
Right.
people have appreciated your photo, you have to kind of dig into it. Go into about a layer or two in the UI and find out who all they are and how many they are. But I've gotten to the point now where I don't even look at that hardly. Even on Instagram, I really don't take a good hard look at how many likes a photo has. I generally don't pay attention too much to that until the end of the year when I want to get my top 9,
Hmm.
and then that's when I take the top 9 most liked pictures, and that's it. But I don't know. For me, I just really like the UI of Glass. And it's fast. It's fluid. The web interface is really really nice, and I've actually been promoting it on Twitter quite a bit in the last little while. So uh, if you want to see me on there, folks, my username is just at Greg. I was early getting in there, and I was able to get my first name. Usually I just pick my last name as a username, but this time I used my first name, and it's it is a nice experience. And if you're sick and tired of Instagram and you want some place to share your photos and have a nice portfolio, you know, Glass is the place to be. And it's only like, I don't know, $35 US for the whole year, something like that. So I don't think that's too bad. Like I said, I would have paid for Instagram years ago if they had offered that up, but they haven't, and they never will now because they're making way too much money
Oh
with
yeah.
advertising and stuff. So,
Hmm.
so that's my beef on Instagram. Honestly, I kind of have to keep it open because in my book that is currently at the publisher's hands, hopefully to be printed this year. I know it's been a long time, but the good news is that they are working on the page layouts and stuff. They had some issues going on in their office where they had they were changing computer systems and they had to wait on supply chain things and all that stuff. So,
Hmm.
but I do know that now they are working on the page layouts and all that stuff. So, but the reason I say I have to keep my Instagram open is because there's going to be QR codes in the book that will take you to certain Instagram posts. So I don't mind leaving it open. That's fine. I'm just not going to be as active on there. I will look at it once in a while, but I mean, if I get a DM on there, I'm certainly not going to ignore it. I'll answer it, but I'm just not going to post as many things there as I will be on Glass. And when I post to Glass, I usually tweet it out too. So um, even if you're not on Glass, like I say, you can go to Glass and look at it. So that's our beefs with Instagram, eh, Dave?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. So moving on now, you have some stuff that you were going to talk about on the last
Yep.
show, but you weren't here to do it, so I saved it for this one. And I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I don't really know what you're going to say about Snapseed here, so I'm very curious to find out what it is.
So one thing I noticed from the set of photos I was posting recently or within the last couple of weeks, well, first of all, another complaint about Instagram, real quick, is if you have a combination of vertical and horizontal videos, doing them in one post does not work.
Yeah, right.
Because if you start off with a vertical shot,
Hmm.
let's say of a tall building, then your next shot is a horizontal shot of a street scene or just a horizontal shot. And you do you hit the little, select multiple. Instagram will say,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're doing all vertical, so I'm going to crop this, and not even crop it properly. I'm just going to chop
Yeah,
off this
yeah,
horizontal one." And
completely.
it's like, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah,
This one I had in mind a horizontal look. This one I had
yeah.
in mind a vertical look.
Hmm.
So one way to do it is to say, here's my vertical shots, and then another post with here's my horizontal shots, which is
Right,
elegant. You should not have to set them up that way. The
right.
other thing you could try is get them as neutrally shot as possible and cropped, but sometimes that doesn't work. Because I've had shots where it's like, okay, this is the shot I want. It's a vertical shot. Oh, Instagram's chopping it off because it's too vertical.
Yeah.
Even if you do 16:9, Instagram will say, oh, now that doesn't look right.
Yeah. Sorry, it's got to be 4:5.
Yeah. Or or even, and it's like, why are you doing this to me? So there are programs out there a lot more. There used to be a lot more when Instagram only had square photos. Kids, ask your parents when they used to only allow square photos, but Snapseed has a very smart feature that if you go under its tools and you do expand. Now, there's 3 options for expand, where it gives it a white border, a black border, and a smart border. So, like, if you have an outdoor scene where, let's say, your main object's in the middle and there's trees are on the side there, if you do the smart expand to maybe just not square it up 100%, but give it a little bit wider of a shot. So, like you said, it's more of a 4:3 or, even a 4:6, not a 16:9. It'll fill in the rest of the shot on the side or on the top and bottom, however you want to expand it. And it'll try to match the scene as closely as possible. So if you want, so it'll actually, you can see it as you expand it, it'll fill it in to make it look like it's supposed to be part of the shot.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you have something that's a pattern, like horizontal lines or, lines going across, it'll try to fill it in and expand it out as smart as it can.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't do a 100% perfect job on it, but it is a free app. So, sometimes what I did, there were a couple of shots that just, like I said, there were a couple of shots that were like, this thing's just not the right aspect ratio for Instagram to post as a normal post. It just didn't fill out correctly. So what I did is I expanded it out a bit to give it a little bit wider of a shot. And there were just trees on the side. So it filled in tree looking things to fill it in nicely. And it worked out pretty good. And then I used touch retouch to some of the, AI, like, oh, that's a tree and it looks like this. You're like, no, that's not right. That's messy. I used touch retouch to kind of clean up some of the oops that Snapseed did. And honestly, you couldn't tell, or it was very hard to it would be very hard to tell unless you look closely to see, oh, that wasn't part of the original shot, or that tree was added in to expand it. So if you get a shot that you just like and it gets to the point where you're looking to post it to Instagram or Instagram seems to be the worst at this. And the aspect ratio is a little too extreme for it. And you're like, well, I can't crop it. Let's say it's a vertical shot. You can't crop it any shorter because your main object is that tall. And you don't want to just make it wider by putting borders on either side. I mean, I would suggest if you want to just put borders, make sure they're black, which Snapseed can do also. So, because most people's backgrounds are black, so it'll fit in and it won't look as bad. Kind of like why TV bars are black on top and bottom when they go widescreen, because you won't notice it as much.
Yeah.
Because most TVs have a black border around them. But try the smart one and see if it does pretty good on that. Because you'd be maybe surprised, like, wow, that's a lot better than I thought it would do.
So that is in tools and then expand. Right.
And then you'll have the 3 different options for
smart, white, or black. Okay. Yeah. It doesn't do too bad. I'm finding for the photo that I'm working on right now, if I just go little bits at a time, it seems to do a little better instead of one great big move.
If you try to do too much, it overcompensates some a little much for it. But if you, like you said, if you just do it a little bit, and it will try to fill it in the best of its can by trying to read what the rest of the photo looks like.
Yeah.
And like I said, it may get some of the details a little weird, but it's enough to where unless someone's actively looking at it, they won't notice it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's bad enough, you could always use the what do they got? Like, is it a healing tool?
They have a healing tool. Yeah, I
Uh,
like Touch Retouch just because I really like Touch
yeah.
Retouch, and I think it does a great job.
Yeah.
But they have a healing tool here where you can do multiple things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's a pretty good you know, fix for the limitations, I guess you could say, of Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Now you have a video
Yep.
um, showing how this procedure was done. Is that it?
Well, I hate to say it this way, but it's been a while since I posted it, so I'm trying to remember. The idea
Yeah.
was there was one photo I did, and I did multiple steps to it and actually used multiple apps to get the photo I wanted, or at least
Okay.
the photo from what the camera took to what I had in my head, how I wanted it to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many times where you look at people's photos, and this is and I know this is said enough, but it's still kind of the hidden little secret. No one takes a photo from their camera, whether it's iPhone, Android, um, a DSLR, you name it. You take that photo. It's not, you just don't take that photo and post it somewhere. No one does that. I should say very few people do that. And
Yeah.
the really, really good photos that you drop your jaw at, they are edited.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
especially if they're professionals, they're
Yeah.
really edited.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always been interested to see the behind the scenes.
Hmm.
The how did you go from shot A to that you posted? What are the steps you did? So
Yeah.
what I did was I did a screen recording on the iPhone of me editing the photo, and then doing a voiceover kind of describing my thought process of how I got from photo A to finished photo.
Right. Yeah,
And
and we'll have a link to that video
yeah,
in the show notes because it's on TikTok. But
right, right.
you can still view it in a browser if you're not on
Yeah,
TikTok.
most
You can
definitely. You
watch
don't
it.
have to sign up. You don't have to sign up or anything for TikTok.
Yep.
And the reason one thing I do like about TikTok versus now we're going back to video,
Hmm.
Instagram only gives you a minute for a
Oh
video,
yeah.
which is really tight, really tight. And I found that I don't get YouTube for me just, and other people may have it. I'm just not as active on it in terms of
Hmm.
posting.
Yeah.
So for me to get the biggest, widest impact, um, I that's why I put it on, because on TikTok you can go up to 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Twitter you can do 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something like that, I think. Again, a minute for that, a minute for Instagram. Facebook you can do a lot more, but people hate Facebook too.
Hmm.
I know everyone hates all the social networks,
Oh
but
sure.
but I tend to, just in terms of me hitting it, TikTok seemed to have the biggest push there. So I actually went through and yeah, I started how I did it in Polar and how I use Polar. You see the original photo, the different filters I tried out, and the different adjustments I did on it, and how I used PS Camera to replace the sky and did a little bit more editing there. And then you see the finished photo. So it's
Hmm.
around 2 minutes. It's around just shy of 3 minutes. It's 2:52 just for the
Yeah.
whole video, but it kind of goes through the whole, and also with the Photoshop camera, how it's um there's different options you can do using that. So it goes over
Yeah.
that too. So it's a mini tutorial slash,
Yeah.
It's like, here's the start point, here's all the intermediate steps, here's why I did the intermediate steps, and here's the finish step.
And it just goes to show you how creative you can be
Mm-hmm.
with these apps, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's a really cool thing. Because some people are afraid or a little intimidated by editing, with these apps and stuff. So,
Yeah.
when people can get a firsthand look at it and see how much fun it could be to play around with stuff and just let your mind wander
Mm-hmm.
and your creative juices flow and see what you can come up with. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. Just before we move on, getting back to video again, you were just telling me before we come on to record that you posted a video that had I forget how many views you said it was.
Well, this is an Instagram reel, and
Yeah,
most of my, well, I would say
and I
this.
bring this up just to show people or just to illustrate to
Okay.
people how crazy these algorithms
Yeah,
could be.
most definitely. So now I'll give you the three reels that I posted, and they were within a day of each other. So we're not
Hmm.
talking 1 week and then a week later and a week later. Um, and all three of these are also reposts of videos that I created on TikTok. I kind of like TikTok's editing and creation tools are pretty nice.
Hmm.
They're better than Instagram. So a lot of times I'll create the video on TikTok and I'll just upload it to Instagram and post it as a reel on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm not duplicating work. I'm just duplicating uploads.
Yeah.
So the one I had was kind of a photo of Leo from different shots, and that one had 41 views,
Hmm.
which, like I said, my likes are three or under 10 likes on my photos. So 41 views, that's much heavier than I've had. The
Hmm.
next one, and this is not artistic, this is in creative. It was literally a 6-second video of me at the computer, my other cat, Rosie, just bopping me with her paw, trying to get my attention. Um, and I used a popular audio clip.
Yeah.
And that one has 17,600 views.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
I
then,
wonder if it's because it was so short.
well, it could be, but the one I did after that is under 10 seconds.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
dogs. I threw one of their squeaky toys. They
Yeah.
both picked it up at the same time and ran it back with it in both of their
Oh,
mouths.
cool.
And I put it to the Benny Hill Yakety Yak song,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and that one had 70. So I went from 41 to 17,600 down to 70. And I
That
have,
is,
yeah, and I was hoping like, maybe if I post a few more, and all the other ones are like 47, 22, 22, 190, 33. I can't explain it. Like I said, it's the algorithm,
yep.
but it just yeah. I mean, occasionally I'll have one or two that are poking the hundreds, one or two that I had a couple thousand, but nothing that's that much, and just like spike and then back
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy.
I'm not an advertiser. So, it wasn't
Yeah,
like I
like you're
could
not
make money.
monetized or anything.
But even if
Yeah.
I did monetize, 17,000 views would probably monetize to 70, 17 cents,
Yeah.
maybe a buck.
Yeah.
Seriously, 17,000 views, you may get $1 if you're monetizing and you were someone who's already popular.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the algorithms for you.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing. Anyway, well, we'll move on now to a popular. Well, I hope it's popular, but it's
Mm-hmm.
popular with you and I, Dave. Our recent photos, and this time, I've been sitting on this for a couple of weeks now, and um, I'm excited about this one because this is kind of funny. So, folks, when we're getting ready to do the show, Dave will send me his three pictures that he's going to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll send him my 3 that we're going to talk about. And when he sent me his 3, now this is going back like 2 weeks ago or whatever it was.
Right.
When he sent me his 3, as soon as I saw them, I thought, no way, no, this can't be it, because I knew full well that I had taken 3 photos at some point since I've been taking pictures with an iPhone of subject matter that is extremely familiar or similar to Dave's pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, so usually we'll take our recent photos, which is like the ones that we've taken basically since the prior podcast. But I thought, no, this time I've got to put the 3 in that I've taken that were similar to Dave's. So we're going to go through them. And when you see them on your iPhone, on your podcast screen, you're going to see why we went this route, because it is it's crazy funny the way that this worked out. And so Dave, you should be able to see that right there.
Okay, there we go. Yes.
Yeah. So
now, what's even better is this is the one I did the editing on. The video
that's
about.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So and this was taken during one of the times I was in Oakland. And due to COVID restrictions, still they only allowed 2 people in the hospital. So instead of me sitting, either in the cafeteria or out in the lobby, and the weather was nice, I decided just to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And now notice that there are red lights here. I'm in the middle of the street. There are red lights. So it was safe. So this is an advantage of the iPhone, because I literally was crossing the street, did not stop because of traffic. I didn't want to stop and, have some idiot go through a red light or something else. I literally was walking, pulled out the phone, got it as good as I could, took the picture while I was walking and kept walking across the street.
Yeah, yeah.
Which you could not do with a normal mirrorless, or I guess you could, or DSLR. Like I said, I guess you could, but it would not work as well.
Yeah, because you're gonna try to get your exposure settings and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, unless you're on full auto, and I mean, it looks like I know this is edited, but it looks like you probably just, well, obviously you point and shot it, but
right.
If you were using a DSLR, you would not get the sky detail, but the clouds in the sky, as well as the darker areas around the bottom of the frame.
Right. Now,
you're going to get one or
this.
the other.
I will say this. The sky is fake.
Oh, you little Dickens.
the sky, this was a completely overcast day. So there is,
really?
If you notice the cars, the shadows on the cars are very light, if barely there.
Yeah, but I mean, the sun could be tucked in behind buildings. That's what I thought.
Yeah, nope. It was 100% overcast. There was no anything in the sky. It was just a solid gray overcast day.
Yeah.
And I did use Polar to give a little bit of a reddish tinge to a lot of the buildings, so it looked
okay. Yeah.
So he had that. So the granite didn't look as white, so it had a little bit of a tone to it. But yeah, I used
it warms it up
exactly, and I used the PS camera app to completely replace the sky with a partly cloudy sky.
Well, you had me fooled.
And honestly,
you really did. I mean, it looks so natural.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That PS camera app is amazing what it can do for sky replacement. Now, admittedly, it's done by Adobe. It's Photoshop camera app. So, and it doesn't give you a lot of options. It gives you some. Like I added a little bit of haze. So you can, like, near the bottom, near the horizon, notice it's a little hazy there. You can add or subtract that. Okay. But yeah, so that's
a nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of boosting of the color because it was a little, the buildings were a little dark. I sharpened it a little bit. but tried not to overly sharpen it. But yeah,
No, it
so
looks like I
yeah.
say, it looks so
Mm-hmm.
freaking natural.
Yep. Yeah.
That is
It's kind of
amazing.
crazy. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it just makes me appreciate the photo so much more knowing that you did all that to it. Aside from the fact that I've taken one that's kind of similar to it,
Yeah.
but I mean, what you've put into it it's such a good job. It just looks so natural. I'm blown away. I am. I'm done. Yeah, well, that's awesome. Uh, all right. Well, so mine um, isn't nearly as you know played with, but this is in downtown Toronto. Um, a couple years ago or so, I took my brother down. He was going down to see a surgeon at a hospital down there for his
Mhm.
knee, and as you could tell by the light, the light lit up billboards and stuff.
Mm.
There's an ad for the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, so
Okay.
that'll give you a bit of a time frame for this as to when it was taken. But um, it was raining, and I wasn't walking across the street. But we were at a red light, and I had
Mhm.
a moment, so I just put my phone up and took the shot because I thought, hey, that looks kind of cool.
Mhm.
And it just uh, the wet road. There is people walking. Um, the guy on the far right in the lower right corner looks like he may be a little wet, but
Oh
um,
yeah.
and it just when I saw your photo, Dave, I knew that I had taken this shot.
Mhm.
And you have a tall building in the center of the frame.
Yeah.
I've got a tall building, maybe just off center a little bit, but
Right. Right.
there. And the perspective of everything and all that stuff, and the darkness of the lower half of the frame.
Mhm.
Except my sky is as it was cloudy and getting ready to storm and things like that. So that's I had to do this comparison
Oh
because
yeah.
I just thought it was so cool that you took photos and I took photos similar at some point in time.
Mhm.
And the old adage, great minds think alike.
Oh yeah.
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 So
You know what though? I was only to Toronto once, and that was
oh
for a
yeah.
work trip. It was for a work trip. But
Hmm.
I just like that city so much. I like the fact
It's
it's a big city,
yeah.
but it doesn't. Mainly, I stayed in the downtown part,
Yeah.
so we were in a hotel, but we still went down to the CN Tower because you have to do
Hmm.
the touristy stuff like that when you're there.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just it felt. I mean, it was a big city, but it didn't. And I know that it's a lot of people live in Toronto. It's
Hmm.
not like but I never felt. First of all, it felt clean. I like the public transportation. That's always a big help, especially if you're like we flew there and then got a taxi from the airport, so we had no way to get around other than walking or public
Yeah.
transportation.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, but it's a flat, and this is coming from someone living in Pittsburgh. It's a flat city,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah. Compared to
walking,
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
yeah, walking is not an issue. It's a flat walk, so that isn't an
Yeah.
issue. So if you wanted to, oh, this is a mile away, but it's a flat walk, good, I can
Hmm.
handle that.
Yeah.
I'm not going up 200 feet a mile. Um,
Yeah. That's right.
so yeah, I did, and I really enjoyed it in the underground area where you can walk around the little shops, and I don't know if that's still open or
Wasn't
not.
that cool?
Yeah, that
I've
was
been
so
through
neat.
there
That
too.
yeah, so I mean, it was just like, oh, if we go on vacation again, that now admittedly it's a little harder now because I went before you needed a passport.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You only needed your driver's license and like your birth certificate to actually go across the border. Now you
Hmm.
need a
Yeah.
passport, so we would have to get a passport, and it's a little bit more complicated. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
back in like '09 to, I think it was
Okay.
'09.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was '09 we went. So yeah. So it was a little different. It wasn't like it was pre 9/11 easy, but it was
Hmm.
so easier than it is now.
Yeah. And it's a great place for photos because
Hmm.
you have the financial district downtown, you have Chinatown, you have um uh Kensington Market. There used to be a TV show on CBC up here in Canada called The King of Kensington, and it was about, this neighborhood, and there's so many different districts or areas of the city of Toronto that I mean, photographers down there must have an absolute heyday.
Hmm.
So, and the other thing I noticed about these two photos,
Hmm.
the foremost car that you're looking at the back of are both Toyotas, and they're both the same color almost.
Well, that's crazy.
So we're on mine. I'm
Ooh.
going to go back to
Yep.
yours. So this one
That's
looks to be a
that's a Camry.
Camry,
That's a Camry. Yep.
and that's a
It's a
Corolla.
Kia. No, that's a Kia.
Is
That's
it
a
a
Kia
Kia?
Optima. That's a
Oh, it
Kia
is too.
Optima.
It is
Yep.
too.
But you know what? Kia, especially back then, because I recognize that because we had that car.
Oh,
We
okay.
bought
That's a
that. We bought.
Forte.
Yeah. No, that's a Optima. That's the next side.
Oh, is
That's
it?
an Optima. Yeah. Because that's a car we had back in '09.
Oh, okay.
'09 to
And
like
I call myself a car guy.
2014. 2014. Well, no, we had that
Oh,
car
yeah.
for like 4 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I know it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
but Kia at the time they made it was a good looking car, but they made it kind of look like a Toyota, which is
yeah,
not the
yeah,
worst thing to do in the world. Yeah.
yeah. I just thought it was just so bloody cool that these two
But no,
pictures
it's
were
just
so
so
similar.
much alike. Yeah.
Yeah. So on to the next set. Uh, you took this one, and I learned something about it tonight that just totally and completely blew my mind.
Well, I'm glad it turned out because that's how that's the way I was going for, to be honest. So this is
Yeah.
outside of a Red Robin restaurant, and what you're seeing in the foreground, the kind of gray concrete, is one of
Hmm.
those pillars they have outside of shopping plazas that act as barriers. And this is a little toy motorcycle on top of that.
And I thought it was a
Mm-hmm.
full-size motorcycle on a parking lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't even,
I,
I was so taken aback by the bike, I didn't even look at the building in behind.
And honestly, that's what I was going for. That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
And it was, and honestly, so and it was. This is a very small. The bike is, just it's a hand. You can fit it in your hand. So it's not. This isn't like a big model. This is a very tiny. This
Right.
is a kid's toy. So
Hmm.
some kid just left it there, and and honestly, I didn't reposition it. It was in that
Oh, really?
position. Yeah, it was in that position. So I just got really close. Um, used the portrait mode,
Hmm.
and because you can see the back has that nice blur to it. So it's a
Yeah.
combination of the computational and the fact I was close and just a natural bokeh. And then I did
Yeah.
some editing just to get the blue a little differently and a little bit more texture and a little bit more, a deeper background for um the brick in the building behind it. So yeah, I wanted to make it look like it was just a motorcycle outside of a building.
Well,
So I just
mission
got that.
accomplished because
Yeah.
again, you had me fooled. And you know what? The portrait mode did such a good job that in between the spokes, the wall in
Mm-hmm.
behind is blurred. Like, I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
Like even in between the frame, looking through the motorcycle, the
Yeah.
wall looks
It
like
worked.
it's
It did
blurred
a really
properly.
good job. It did a great
It
job
did.
on it.
It really did a good job.
But we're
So,
also the distance. There were the distance between the bike and the wall is probably a good 6 feet.
okay.
So there's a lot of for something that small, having that much of a separation also helped, I think. And
Yeah, yeah.
I since I have the Pro, I have the
Hmm.
lidar.
LiDAR,
That
yeah.
also lidar makes a big difference for portrait
Yeah,
mode.
it sure does. And
Major
it's nice that
difference.
you could take a photo now in portrait mode without it having to be a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is
And
cool.
at least now this is the one thing with the newer ones. I think you've had this for a while with your phones, being able to adjust the depth of field after the fact.
Yes.
So if you
Yeah.
want to add a little more blur, a little less blur, having that as a
Hmm.
built-in feature, that's a game changer also for making things look
Yeah.
realistic.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you know, judging or depending on the distance between the subject, in this case, the motorcycle and the wall in behind. I mean, you don't want to over blur it, right?
Right.
You want to make it look kind of realistic. So you're gonna,
Mm-hmm.
if it's too blurry when you take it, you can dial that down, and Bob's your uncle, and you got a picture that's gonna fool a dumbass like me. uh,
I
so
wouldn't go that way, but yeah.
my photo that the one that I thought of that I'd taken when I saw this one, pretty much the only thing that's similar in it is the fact that it's a blue motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
Now this one, I was at work one night, and uh, a buddy of mine who no longer works with me, but he was working with me at the time. We went to the Toronto Auto Show one time, and on the way back, we stopped at a motorcycle shop, and he bought this motorcycle. So I was with him when he got it, but I hadn't really seen much of it until
Mm.
I went out and checked it out in the parking lot. So of course, I've always got my phone in my pocket. I pulled it out and I
Mm-hmm.
took a picture. And this would have been with my 10s Max, I believe.
Okay.
So, but I mean, nothing really special about the image. Just I saturated the blues a little bit, and this is all before I saw yours. But I saturated the blues a little bit, and I don't know. Basically, that's about it. And but when I saw yours of that little blue motorcycle, now I can call it little. um, it it just reminded me of the time I took this shot. So I thought, yeah, I've got to put this one, in with yours, and just, again, kind of great minds think alike, I think, when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a pretty motorcycle, and that blue really pops.
It does. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was really nice. Now, he just sold it last year. He had it for
Oh.
about a year, but at his first motorcycle. But
Mm.
he got to the point where it was hurting his back to ride it for a long
Oh.
distance, right? Because
Okay.
it's one of those
Yeah.
sport bikes.
Oh,
And
okay,
so
yeah.
now he's got a great big, like, oh, I forget what kind it is, but it's kind of like the Harley style where he can
Okay, it's
sit
more of
up
a
and,
sit.
the
It's more of a
handle.
sit up and
Yeah,
just
he's
relax
got
and
one of
drive.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's the motorcycles.
Hmm.
So now we move on to churches.
Right. And this is another one I took one on the walks. Um, and I just love the look with the red doors and just the angle. I just love the look of what was going on here.
And
And
this looks like an old building.
it is, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the buildings in the Oakland neighborhood in Pittsburgh, it had a lot of expansion around the 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, when the university really started to take off. So you
Hmm.
have a lot of buildings from that are 100, 120 years old, and a lot of them have been kept up. So this is one of those old buildings. Now, this is where touch retouch kind of runs into issues. If you look at the steps,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you can notice it's a little wavy because
Yeah.
I got rid of a couple cars that were in front of it.
Oh, okay.
So I could have left the cars in there, but they kind of distracted, to be honest. But I
Yeah.
still wanted the foreground of the steps in. I just didn't want to just
Yeah.
cut it off there because of the way the steps kind of flowed down.
Hmm.
So a lot of the things around the steps, you can tell that it gets a little messy. So,
But you
but
know what? The building itself draws your eye away from that,
exactly. Yeah.
I think,
Plus,
which is a good thing.
and the other thing is, I figure most of the people who would be looking at this would be looking at this on their cell phone or looking at
Hmm.
this on an iPad at the largest. So, because
Yeah.
of that, you may not notice it. It's easier to
Yeah. You
see
know
if you
what? I
have it
didn't.
on a computer. Yeah, it must say, yeah. And also, it's a matter, are you looking for it or not?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because
Because
I
if
mean,
you
when I
notice
first
on the
saw this,
bottom right,
yeah,
there's that person down there that's kind of half there, half not there.
or the bottom left, yeah,
Bottom left. I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
and
I
honestly,
just love the look of the church too. Like I said, it's an old solid stone church,
yeah, and
and yeah.
I was so entwined with that that I did not even
Hmm.
see the stuff in the bottom left hand corner. I honestly didn't see it until you just mentioned it. But like I say, the building itself is so cool that you know how you say your eyes will wander around an image. Well, my eyes are
Hmm.
wandering around this building, and that's it. They don't seem to be going anywhere else.
Okay, now I just
So
looked it up to be safe. What it was, it's the Bellafield Presbyterian Church.
okay,
So yeah, it looks like it's been around forever.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, what caught my eye was the fact that it was one, a church, two, it was all made of stone,
Hmm.
and three, the red doors.
Yeah.
We have a church in the town I live in where it's made of stone, it's old, and it has red doors. And when I saw yours, I thought, okay, here we go again. I know I've taken a picture of this church. In fact, before I got into iPhoneography, when I was shooting with my Canon, I took a picture around the backside of this church. There's another little building that has red doors like you see on the front there, and it was at night. And I was able to, when I did the edit, I was able to get the door nice, bright, and red. And I called my website Red Door Photos. Um,
Hmm.
and so, I mean, I've always liked red doors. I don't know what it is about red doors, but if I see them on, like when I'm flipping through Instagram or Flickr or Twitter or wherever, if I see a red door in a photo, I'm going to stop and take a better look at it. But this is an old church. I'm not sure how old it is, but I'm pretty sure it's built in the 1800s, probably the late 1800s, and it's an Anglican church that's still active today, and it is a very popular tourist attraction in the city here for especially for photographers.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I mean, there's so many different details and things like that of the building that you can get up close and take a picture of, and just a real cool. And but the worst thing about it is I was standing on the sidewalk of the 4 lane, basically a highway that goes through the city from one side to the other. So I mean, it's on a busy, near a busy part of town. And the other cool thing is that on each of the corners at the intersection here, there's a church. This one is obviously the most prolific because it has the tall steeple and the structure and everything else. But they always call this what do they call it? Four church corners or something like that. That's kind of a local nickname for it. But but yeah, it's again, I saw yours. I knew I'd taken a picture somewhat similar to that, and this was it.
Mm.
So, well, that's our recent photos. Well, yours are more recent than mine because when I saw yours, like I say, I delved into my archives to dig mine out. But let's see, the most recent one was probably the motorcycle because it only would have been about 2, 3 years ago at the most. Well, the downtown Toronto one might be close to being the most recent too, I guess. But yeah, it was a lot of fun comparing them and seeing how at some point in time we had the same photographic vision, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy. Just, you know, luck of how things just happen. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine if we ever got out shooting together, what we'd come up with? But hey, it's and you know what? It kind of show this little exercise here kind of showcases not only our the way our mind's eye sees things, but you know the way we edit our stuff. I basically do just a very few small steps to do my edits. Whereas you will use more apps and, you seem to be getting a little more creative with your edits and stuff like that, which is really working for you, I think. Yeah, like man, you had me fooled in that first one. I thought that sky was for real.
That would have been great if the sky would have been that nice, to be honest. But it was. And if you look at the video, the very first little bit of that video, you can see the sky was kind of gray and overcast. It was just one of those gray overcast days. So
yeah, oh, that's crazy. Well, I think we got ourselves a show.
Yep.
All right. So, well, tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram, at least for the time being, and Twitter as Prof Pod, assuming Instagram doesn't hide us, and on TikTok as Prof Pod PGH, and on the Facebook group as Dave Podner Jr. Alrighty.
You can find me on Instagram for now at Macmillan Photo, on Twitter, Macmillan_photo, on Glass as Greg. And I guess if you want to find everything, you can go to about.me/Macmillan, and all the links are there for everything, including my website. This podcast lives on iPhoneography.ca, and it's hosted on Anchor, on Anchor or Anchor.fm. And I'm gonna see about opening up the comments part where you can actually call into the podcast and leave a comment. It's like a voicemail. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, complaints, anything like that, you'll be able to put them out there for Dave and I to check out. And if we're doing something you don't like, we can certainly talk about fixing it or maybe not doing it again. But yeah, check us all out there. And I guess for now, that's it. And we'll see you on the next one.
Have a great one, everyone.